Hello, everybody. Mark Schaftlein with you, and this is the Schaftlein Report. It's Thursday's edition. We're broadcasting from beautiful Delray Beach, Florida. Happy to have you with us today. Happy to have Jeffrey back from Long Island, New York. Jeffrey, how are you?
I'm doing great. And to everybody, happy 4 weeks before spring training, since the football season's over.
Well, for you, it's over, but for some of it's just beginning.
Right.
Listen, we'll get to that later in the show. Jeffrey, we'll get to Biden in a minute, but some economic news came out today, which is pretty good. It's still a high number, but core consumer inflation cool a little bit, 6.5%. What'd you make of the number that came out today?
What I keep hearing is, and maybe you know this, is that gas, a lot of it was gas prices going down, and a lot of that was strategic reserve.
Well, gas prices clearly came down. They were down like 9%
right
from November to December. But the interesting thing about it, food prices are up 12% year over year. So while gasoline prices contributed to that, natural gas prices fell. Some demand for used cars, fell in December. A lot of people apparently weren't buying used cars in December. Overall, the CPI number, all of the numbers came in right as economists had expected. The stock market initially sold off, came back, and now it's up on the day. It's up on the week for the second consecutive week. So the market likes this number, anticipating that, the Fed rate hikes may not be as severe. And, again, the market's banking on the Fed cutting by Q4. I just don't see that in the cards anywhere. But it was a reasonably good number, but inflation is still high. Anyone that goes out and shops and buys food, which everybody does, a lot of costs are escalated and continue to go up. Insurance costs. I can name a bunch of other
housing
things.
Costs. My kids, my daughter and her husband were looking for houses for like a year, and they couldn't get what they wanted. But as little by little, the cost of houses went down, so they finally got what they wanted at a price they could afford.
Yeah, you have to be patient in this marketplace, and you will get your price, because nationwide prices are declining. So not a lot, but some. So again, this was pretty good news. It's not conclusive. Okay, a lot of indicators are inflation is coming down. Look, 6.5 year over year is better than 9.5 where we were, back during the summer. But we still haven't won that battle yet. The Fed's going to have to continue to diligently fight it. But at the same time, we have to call respectable news, and that's what we had today. All right, let's get off the economic news minute and really the news of the day. Jeffrey, what is your impression here on these Biden declassification, these documents? Shockingly, a special counsel was appointed today. What I don't get is, up until the day when the special counsel was appointed, the left was defending Biden while at the same time criticizing Trump. I just don't get it how you can have it both ways.
Well, what they don't understand is Trump did it when he was the president. The president determines what's classified or not. Biden was vice president. He had no right to take classified documents. So that's, to me, the big difference between that the Democrats got to realize.
Well, weren't some of these documents that Merrick Garland's looking at current documents of him as president?
From what I've read, only his vice president years when Obama was president.
Okay.
Fine
line there.
Right. He had no right to them. And I think the way they're doing it is wrong. Because if you remember with Trump, they did this big raid at Mar-a-Lago. They're getting piecemeal by piecemeal. Maybe they should do a examination of everything at once.
You have two
right
different.
Now they found 3 different places.
You're talking about on Biden's documents.
Yeah.
Yeah, elaborate that on a little bit. Weren't there 2 sets of docs and another document piece today?
Yeah, well, the big one is that One was in his garage, and Biden said, "That's okay. It's locked up because my Corvette is there." It just shows how close he is to the American people.
Yeah, yeah, I get it. Well, despite the fact that this special counsel is being named today, and Biden's sort of now caught up in the same, if we'll call it an issue, same issue Trump is. Honestly, if I'm really straightforward, which I always am, I don't think this is that big a deal from either Trump or Biden. And I think the media is just blowing it out. You know, they blew it up on Trump. They're going to have to blow it up on Biden a little bit. But honest to God, I mean, for the amount of documents that they're talking about,
I think they're blowing it up for Biden because they don't want him to run again.
Maybe, possibly. I mean, speaking of running, though, his approval rating is now up to 44%. His disapproval's down to 52. Still upside down, Jeffrey, but you know, on
That's about where Trump was.
Yeah, well, Trump was a little bit lower. Trump was around where Biden was before the end of the year, which was around 42%.
Right.
So Biden's picked up 2 points. Look, they came off a midterm for Biden's taking some credit for something that really, the reason those Senate races were won, I don't want to get into it. We've dissected it 6 ways to Sunday, but I don't think Biden had a whole lot of credit to do with why the Democrats did what they did in the Senate and why the House is a little bit closer. But the truth of the matter is his approval rating has ticked up. All indications are, Jeffrey, he is planning on running. And I've seen no Democrats step forward to indicate that they're going to oppose him.
But from everything I read, they don't want him to run. I'm talking about the big shots.
Oh, yeah, no, I'm with you. Not only the big shots, the average Democratic voter, 2/3 of them don't want him to run.
I want him to run because if the Republicans put up a good candidate,
right,
it's done.
Yeah. I concur with you there. Well, again, since we're not in the business of predicting what he's going to do, although we do it periodically. Yeah, I think he's going to run, and I think on our side we're going to have a crowded field. Some of the potential Republican candidates are already taking little shots at DeSantis. So we'll
I
see.
just hope they don't start comparing hand size like they did in 2016.
We're not going to go down that path. Well, let's talk about some things that Kevin McCarthy has done in the House of Representatives since he became Speaker of the House. Something that has pleased me to no end is Democratic Representatives Adam Schiff, the liar Ilhan Omar, and just the pathetic Eric Swalwell have been kicked off Intelligence and Foreign Affairs committees.
But there are good reasons, and that's what people don't understand.
There are good. Tell the folks what the reasons are, Jeff.
Well, first of all, when you talk about Schiff, how many times, and he still says that he has the evidence that Trump spoke to the Russians.
Well, Schiff's nickname, congenital liars.
No, I call him the bug-eyed, bullshitting, bloviating barrister of Burbank. They're like a lot of bees.
Yeah.
But he lied to the people. He's still lying to the people.
Right.
Okay. And before that phone call with Ukraine, he sent his people down to talk to everybody.
Yeah, sure did.
Okay. You look at Omar. Yeah, there's the anti-Semitic stuff, and the Democratic Party didn't do anything about it. They were going to, but the Congressional Black Caucus said, "You do that, we're going to leave." But the other thing is that really bothers me is that 2 years in a row on Memorial Day, she went to conventions for CARE, CAR, the Muslim group,
right,
which was created by the Muslim Brotherhood, instead of staying in Washington and celebrating Memorial Day, which to me is an important holiday.
Yeah. No, I find all three of them disgusting. As Swalwell.
Well, I understand Ling Ling was very upset.
Fang Fang or Ling Ling?
I thought it was Ling Ling. Is it Fang Fang?
Fang Fang.
Oh, yeah. It's Fang. I understand Fang Fang was very, very upset.
Yeah. For those of you who are a little tongue in cheek here, Eric Swalwell had an affair with a Chinese spy. Ilhan Omar is an anti-Semite, and Adam Schiff is a congenital liar. So McCarthy kept a promise. He said they would kick him off the committees, and he did.
And he did.
And you know what? I
Put
don't hear
them on other committees, though?
but not the important one like Foreign Relations or
Right.
Intelligence Committee. You know, an interesting thing, I don't hear any Democrats complaining about those three being kicked off. Do you?
No.
No, they're
Not
not
worried
that.
about that.
Yeah, they're not like that well within their own caucus. You know, and Jeffrey, one thing should talk about with Kevin McCarthy, in addition to the other pieces, is he is keeping his promises.
Isn't that great?
Well, I mean, he kicked the notorious congenital liar Adam Schiff
Right.
off both the Intelligence and the Foreign Relations Committee. He kicked that anti-Semite Ilhan Omar off both committees. And he kicked Fang Fang, otherwise known as Eric Swalwell, who slept with a Chinese spy, off both committees. So, I mean,
Well,
McCarthy.
I understand Fang Fang was crying.
Yes, of course. Well, you know, I mean, give McCarthy credit. He said before he became speaker he would do these very things. And you know what's interesting, Jeffrey? I don't hear one Democrat complaining about those three.
Because they didn't like them either.
Right.
And that's the truth. And they thought they should, the only reason why they were still on those committees is because Pelosi wanted it.
Right.
And, Pelosi ran the Congress with an iron fist because she raised all that money.
Yeah.
And they couldn't disagree with her. And my least favorite of the three was Adam Schiff, who I called the bug-eyed bullshitting, bloviating barrister of Burbank, because I like the letter B. But this guy still says that he has evidence that Trump colluded with the Russians. He never showed us any. And how long ago was that? 6 years ago?
Yeah, I mean, because he's a liar. I mean, Schiff, he's known as a liar. He fabricated all that stuff about Trump. Nothing comes out of his mouth is factual. He's been on the Republican enemies list for a long time.
And he's illegal, because when he ran those committees about Trump, that they wouldn't let anybody watch, and anybody who wasn't on the committee here, all of a sudden, 5 seconds after the meeting was over, the press would know about it.
Mm-hmm.
It's a leaker, which to me is even worse, because you're not respecting the rest of the people that are working with you.
That's right. He's a leaker and a liar. And Omar, she's just a disgusting congresswoman. I mean, how these people in Minnesota, she barely won re-election. I don't know, who the hell's in her district, but a bunch of whack jobs must be voting for her. I mean, she is an absolute anti-Semite, and everything she stands for. I mean, she married her brother, lied to get into, all kind of stuff.
Well, you know what? The marriage was never consummated. Okay. The reason why she married him, because she wanted to sneak him into the country so he can get to college.
Anyhow, she's a disgusting person, an anti-Semite, and I'm glad that McCarthy got rid of her. And as far as Swalwell goes, he's just a throw-in as far as I'm concerned.
It's funny because yesterday he was still talking about how he was blaming Trump for all the documents.
Yeah. I
had to tweet him back and say, did you ask Fang Fang?
Yeah.
I mean, he's still thinking about attacking the other side instead of trying to get things done, right, which is the problem with actually both parties.
Well, McCarthy's taken some steps. Look, the idea, like we talked about earlier in the show, about, Democrats joining Republicans, not selling strategic petroleum reserves to China. I mean, there are always some bipartisanship happening in the House in the early days here. I don't know how long that's going to last, but look, a guy like Swalwell, when you're known for sleeping with a Chinese spy and farting on national television, that's not exactly the greatest claim to be, but he keeps getting reelected.
But I think that would be a great TV show, Fart, and Fang Fang.
Yeah, probably would. All right, let's move on a little bit. Let's talk about something
serious. One of the movies I'm really proud of? The Jim Jordan Committee. that
Yeah.
it's going to be an separate investigative committee. It's almost like, remember the church committee?
Yeah, Frank Church, right. Mhm.
It's going to be like that. And I think it's great because if anybody could do that, he can.
Yeah, there's no doubt about that. Let's move on to some serious stuff here in Ukraine. Putin has changed generals again. I hate to say it, but I mean, he's changing generals like you and I change shirts. This probably does not spell good news for Ukraine. I mean, I'm reading stories about Russian soldiers freezing in bunkers. I mean, malnutrition. It's not a surprise to me that Putin sacked the guy running the war to bring in someone else because the conditions are deplorable.
The other thing that's happening is a lot of Russian soldiers are going AWOL and they're getting shot by the Russian officers because the conditions, and they're losing. It's really important for Putin to win this war. I mean, they tell me he's going to die soon. And
we've been hearing that for a long time.
Yeah, well, it's gotten worse. It's like I say, he has one foot in the grave and the other on the banana peel. But one of the reasons they say he's rushing so hard to win this war fast is because he wants to get his legacy. But what I also hear is the people in the Kremlin, the oligarchs and the high-ranking people are not happy.
Well, how could they be? I mean, the whole world's against them. They're losing, they've lost 110,000 soldiers. And, all those soldiers weren't prisoners. There was generals and colonels and, majors and officers in there too. And you're right. I mean, a lot of people, the conscripts and the convicts sent to the front lines to fight, when they want to escape, there's Russians behind them that are shooting them. They did that tactic in World War II. I mean, it's nothing new.
The other thing is, if they're angry at Putin, they don't fire people. No, if they want you gone, they fire at people.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I got to tell you, the Ukrainians have fought miraculously. That there's fierce battles going there daily basis. First, what are we here on January 12th? The Russians have already lost estimates of 7,000 soldiers since the first of the year. I mean, these are horrific numbers, Jeffrey. I mean, just terrible. And take that number times 2, and that's generally the number of wounded, then the equipment lost. I mean,
I get angry at the Congress people of both parties who say, we shouldn't be helping them anymore.
I'm with you 100% on that.
This is the Russians.
Yeah, I don't like that. I saw a poll that showed 52% of Republican voters don't want to support Ukraine. I'm like, what are these people nuts? I mean, that's crazy. I'm all for auditing. I don't have a problem with that. But man, I'm with you. I'm not in that.
And it's not that we're sending our people. We're sending our weapons. We're giving them money.
Right. No, I'm with you on that. All right, let me shift to a little bit lighter subject. Jeffrey, I can think of nobody better than you. You wrote about it in LidBlog today, lidblog.com. The natural gas stove fiasco, another left-wing disaster.
Well, I think part of it is Biden's trying to make nicey to the liberals, to the far left, before he decides he's going to run again. But it's crazy.
Yeah.
Okay. The head of the Consumer Products Commission of Public Safety, Richard Trumka Jr., and his father was the bully of labor.
Yeah.
And what he said was that gas stoves, I got to read the quote, are hidden hazards. That's scary. I mean, we have a gas stove. My wife says it's better for adjusting the temperature, right?
Sure.
If it boils water, I'm fine, either one. But when he said it was, stuff was hidden, I had to check my house. Last night, I went in, I looked in the closet, I looked in the bed. In the closet, I saw the boogeyman. Under the bed was Freddy Krueger. But the good thing, there were no hidden hazards. So I didn't mind. I mean, this guy's crazy. They're crazy.
They really are. I mean, of all the issues,
they're out of touch with the regular people.
Yeah, I agree with you 100%. Yep. Yeah. I mean, of all the issues, natural gas is cheap in this country. I mean, and it's a clean burning fuel. I mean, for them to go after that, it just is, it tells you how out of touch they are with the American people. Really.
Well, the other thing is, I checked with the government figures. So this comes from the government. 61% of the fuel needed to make natural gas, what they need to process and everything, comes from carbon fuels. Okay, so 60% of it is just throwing more crap in the air.
Yeah.
When you think for those people,
Yeah.
So, and gas stoves there's not a lot of usage of them. So it's basically they're making people unhappy for almost nothing.
Yeah, I know. And listen, you've got to, who the hell comes up with this dumb stuff? I mean,
well, it's the same person that came up with Biden's papers were found right next to his Corvette, which is another way he gets close to the American people.
It's just the tone deafness sometimes. It just amazes. Well, the good news is this, when we get through Schiff, Omar, and Swalwell, get Putin swapping out generals, and then talk about the natural gas fiasco, at least we can close on a good note with some football. Despite your comment about baseball season, some of us are still football aficionados.
I will watch the Super Bowl because I used to be in advertising. They have great commercials.
Well, we watch it for different reasons. This weekend, I really think the 49ers are going to roll. I like San Francisco, over Seattle. I think Jacksonville could upset the Chargers. I think we've got an outside shot there.
Is that because you live in Florida?
No, it ain't do just because I have a couple shekels on Jacksonville and put it like that. Buffalo Malls, Miami. I think that's going to happen.
Well, something. I'm rooting for Buffalo because of 2 weeks ago.
Yeah, Minnesota and the Giants. Pretty close. Minnesota 2.5 3-point pick. I sort of like the Vikings a little bit, but wouldn't be shocked to see the Giants win that game. Cincinnati 9-point favorite over the Ravens. I think Cincinnati wins, but that game's going to be a lot closer than 9 points.
Okay.
Cincinnati's lost 2 offensive linemen, and the Ravens have pretty good defense. And maybe in the shocker, everybody's talking about Tom Brady and how poor Dallas is doing. I think Dallas could beat Tampa. What do you think about that?
Brady hasn't been Brady this year. He has it at flashes, but he hasn't been Brady.
No, but Tampa's got a losing record too. So, the playoffs are here and anything can happen. But those are my thoughts. I do think San Francisco, I think they're going to beat Seattle. I don't know if they'll cover the point spread. Jacksonville, I think, can upset the Chargers. I really think Buffalo crushes Miami. Minnesota, the Giants, close game. I like Minnesota. And again, I think Cincinnati and Dallas. So those are my thoughts on who gets out of this week. Any disagreements on those, Jeffrey?
Well, no, because Miami's going to lose because they lost to the Jets. If you lose to the Jets, how can you win a playoff game?
Well, they beat them 11-6 the other day in a shot. I don't even want to get into that.
You know what? When you see people give large spreads in a playoff game, I really don't believe it because they're excellent teams. It's got to be closer. Even if they lose, it's very rare that it's a blowout.
Well, but against 7 seeds, sometimes the blowout. Yeah, we'll see. It's going to be an exciting weekend for you football aficionados out there. And nothing could be any more embarrassing than what happened on Monday night when Georgia just dismantled TCU. But again, another issue. We've got a new season coming up next year. Georgia's still the king right now. But Jeffrey, let me recap a couple of things here. We know about inflation coming down a little bit. Where do you see this special prosecutor going here on this Biden thing? Is anything going to come of it?
No.
Yeah, I agree with you. I don't think anything.
First of all, legally, from what I hear, they have nothing on Trump because he had the right to make things declassified. And if they don't do anything to Trump, they're not going to do anything about Biden. Yeah. And that's the thing now. Now they're equals.
Yeah, they are. And there's not, despite leftists wanting to get Trump again, nothing's going to come of that. I agree with you.
The interesting, though, is that I don't remember which Democrat, but said that now that he's been caught with those documents, he shouldn't be allowed to run again. Would they say the same thing about Biden now? Just curious.
That's a good point. That's a good point. Well, look, we're going to follow this story for you, folks. And again, Jeffrey and I are on this.
I promise I'm not running for president.
Well, what about running against Kirsten Gillibrand?
No, because I'd have to use no more than 3-letter words.
Okay.
And you don't know her position. When she was a congressman, she was pro gun, and now she's anti-gun.
Of course, she drank the Democratic Kool-Aid. Yeah,
Right.
So, yeah. All right, Jeffrey. We're sort of out of time here today, but closing comments. Anything else on your mind?
Boy, it's been a weird year. Week. I mean, I just think the news has been just strange. It's always busy, but it's been really strange. And I really would like to see what happens next week with the new House.
Mm-hmm.
And with these hidden document things, and special prosecutors. And did you say there's football games?
Yeah. There's 6 of them. We'll closely follow.
Actually, I will watch them, but watch them for football's sake.
Okay.
But Biden keeps doing things that will end up increasing gas prices.
Eventually, that's going to happen. Yeah. I mean, we're in a little bit of a lull right now. Look, I tell you, down here in Florida, gas is relatively inexpensive compared to the rest of the country.
What's the weather been like?
Beautiful. Every day, 78, sunny, nice. It's going to get
here's from 25 to 50.
Yeah, it's going to be cool this weekend, though. All right, folks, look, we're going to follow all these stories, whether it be the economy, the special prosecutor, Democratic fiascos, one thing after a stove after another, and we'll keep up with what the new Congress is doing, right or wrong, but so far so good. We like what we see. And Jeffrey and I will be back next Thursday to analyze it. Folks, you'll be able to catch me on Tuesday. I'll give you the recap of what happened during the week, and we'll talk on some subjects. But Jeffrey and I will be covering some of these same stories again for you. We'll cut through all the propaganda, and we'll give you the real story of what's going on. Jeffrey, happy to have you back again in the new year. Great to see you. Yeah, great to see you. Looking good. And folks, we will be back on Tuesday. Have a great weekend come up, and I will see you then. Thanks for viewing and listening today.